This part is about sternum. It contains three parts in it: manubrium, body, and xiphoid process. Manubrium is the first most part of sternum, which is present in the superior aspect. It contains the joints of clavicular facet and the first rib costal facet and jugular notch. Body is the second part of sternum, which contains 6 costal cartilage or 6 costal facet in it. The attachment of manubrium and body, known as sternal angle, which has the second costal facet in it. Xiphoid process. Xiphoid process is the last part of sternum, which is immovable, and CPR are generally processed in the part of xiphoid process. The connection between the body and xiphoid process, that angle has the 7th costal facet in it. So there is an image of sternum. Costal cartilages. It is an hyaline cartilage which connects sternum and ribs, which is used to minimize friction between bones. It has its own elastic capacity, which is helpful for respiration. Sternal muscles. External intercostal muscles. Angle of ribs posterior to costochondral junction anteriorly. Internal intercostal muscles, which arises from the posterior part of ribs to the lateral border of sternum. Transverse thoracic. It contains of sternocostalis, innermost intercostal muscles, and subcostalis muscle. Sternocostalis, which is present in the posterior aspect of sternum and lateral part of it. Innermost intercostal muscle, which is present in the lateral part of intercostal spaces. Subcostalis muscle, which is present below the ribs. The muscles attached to the sternums are sternocleidomastoid muscles, pectoralis major, rectus abdominis muscles. These three muscles are present in the anterior aspect to sternum. Posteriorly, sternohyoid muscles, sternothyroid muscle, subcostalis muscles. So this is an example of anterior muscle attachment to the bone, sternal bone, and this is the posterior muscle attachment to the sternal bone. This is of diaphragm. Arteries which supply blood to the sternum are anterior intercostal arteries, posterior intercostal arteries, and lateral intercostal arteries. Anterior intercostal arteries arises from the subclavian artery, which branches into rema and lema, which in depth divides into anterior intercostal arteries. So each intercostal space contains 2 anterior intercostal arteries, which supplies the anterior part of the intercostal muscles. After the sixth rib, it divides into 2 parts of musculophrenic artery and superior epigastric artery. Posterior intercostal arteries arises from the descending thoracic aorta, which supplies the posterior part of intercostal muscles. Lateral intercostal arteries is an anastomosis of anterior and posterior intercostal arteries. So these are the arterial branches, and this is venous drainage from the intercostal spaces and intercostal muscles. So all these blood from the intercostal muscles is collected by the azygous vein, intercostal veins to the azygous vein to the SVCs, which is then drained into RA. This is the intercostal nerve branch, which is supplied to the intercostal muscles. So the intercostal nerves are the main nerves that supply the sternum and manubrium. These nerves have multiple branches in it, including anterior axillary branch, posterior cutaneous branch, muscular branches, anterior cutaneous branch, collateral branch, and lateral cutaneous branch. The intercostal nerves are somatic nerves that originate from the anterior rami of the thoracic spinal nerves T2 to T6. Thank you.